Do you know how to analyze your website?
Get to know your customers by Google Analytics. Join our workshop to learn how it works.
Do you know how to analyze your website?
Get to know your customers by Google Analytics. Join our workshop to learn how it works.
Do you know how to analyze your website?
Get to know your customers by Google Analytics. Join our workshop to learn how it works.
Do you know how to analyze your website?
Get to know your customers by Google Analytics. Join our workshop to learn how it works.
Hello, everyone, and a very good morning. I see everyone is very energetic with chat today, with all the flowing good morning messages from everyone. That's pretty good. So, hi, my name is Nadia, and I will be your speaker for today. So, today we are going to do our workshop with the title of Google Analytics. Okay, so before I start, I just want to have some interactions with my chat. Okay, so on scale of let's say 1 to 5, 5 being the most familiar. Okay, how well versed are you to Google Analytics? 5 being the most familiar. If you're not entirely very new to Google Analytics, it's also fine. I just want to get to know my chat. That's all. Okay. Okay, we have some 0, we have some 4, we have some 2. Okay, so 4, I'm assuming everyone is someone is actually quite familiar with Google Analytics. That's good. That's good. All right, and I have some 3s. I have some 1s. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, chat, for the response. So I'm going to address. We have some 0. We have some 1.6. Interesting. Very interesting. We have 1.6. All right. Thank you, everyone, for the response. So for today, we have negative 5 too. Okay. All right. So again, thank you, chat, for the response. So for today, this workshop is basically for everyone. If you are well versed to Google Analytics, that's good. If you are very new to Google Analytics, it's also good for you because for this workshop, I will be covering from basics, entirely from basics. Still, it's enough for everyone to get themselves familiar with Google Analytics. All right. So without further ado, let's start. All right. So for today's agenda, I'm going to introduce to everyone to what exactly is Google Analytics, and then I'm going to give everyone an overview, a brief overview of what are all the reports that is being offered by Google Analytics. And then for the understanding Google Analytics, we are going to do some hands-on on how to basically plug in Google Analytics to your website. And then the summarization is basically the closing for today's workshop. Okay, so for the prerequisite, it's not exactly prerequisite. So for this workshop, it's advisable for everyone to actually have a website, or even if you don't have a website, it's totally fine. You can still follow. You can still follow the workshop, but it's better for you to have a sample website, a free website overall, so that you can actually see how does Google Analytics works. But if you don't have it, it's totally fine. All right. So let's get started. From introduction to Google Analytics. So what exactly is Google Analytics? We are all hear all this Google Analytics from here and there, Google Analytics this, Google Analytics that, yada yada, and so on. So for starters, Google Analytics is actually a free web analytics service that is offered by, well, everyone guessed it, Google, everyone's favorite web browser, everyone's favorite website. Okay. So for starters, Google Analytics give a lot of valuable insight, valuable information regarding on your website, and it can actually, with the help of Google Analytics, it can help you to achieve a decision on your website to make you choose which is the better targeting, okay, which is the better content creation, and then to improve in case for your website also you can improve the user experience website, and also increase the conversion rate, and also get your website to be a better website overall. Okay, so okay, we already have a first question here. Yes, the video will be available. It's depending on the mods. Okay, usually the video will actually be up 2 to 3 hours after the workshop ended. So if you do want to rewatch the entire workshop, yes, you can do it. All right, continuing on. So Google Analytics actually provide a lot of important information regarding on your website business health, such as e-commerce, lead conversion. So e-commerce is basically an act of digital selling and buying. And for lead conversion is, long story short, is how you have a potential customer, and then how you actually manage to convince them, or actually to turn them to an actual customer. Okay, so for starters, potential customer doesn't mean you are guaranteed that potential customer is your customer. It's not guaranteed just yet. So you can still you can actually convince them to become an actual customer to your business. Okay, so we have known what exactly is quote unquote Google Analytics. So why exactly you need them? For starters, why do you even bother to need Google Analytics? You can actually analyze your website on your own. So why do you even bother to need them? Well, for starters, of course, when you first, especially for new business owners, right? You have new digital business owners. Okay, you have a lot of question regarding on your website. So let's say you are into 1 month after your business, and you want to see your website performance, or which of your item in your website is good, which one is the frequently by the customer, which one is basically something that is not selling so well, which is the most traffic, that you can get from your website. So you want all you might have all those kind of answer. And also additionally, okay, Google Analytics can also help you answer all kinds of questions that you might have. So these 6 question that I have on my screen right now is not the only question that Google Analytics can answer it for you. Depending on your situation, depending on what you want, okay, you can more so can actually get all the answer from Google Analytics. Okay, so for starters, you might want to know how many people visit your website, where do they come from. So now that I have a bunch of visitors on my website, so how do they access from my website, whether it's from PC or tab or mobile. So do we need to uh, make our website mobile friendly so that it's easier for mobile users? Okay, and then what kind of marketing tactics do we need to improve our website performance, and which pages, aka which place on your website is the most popular? Okay, so who can actually use Google Analytics? Now that we have understand why do we need them, and also we do already know what exactly is Google Analytics. So who can actually use them? So for starters, okay, the most beneficial person that the most people who benefits the most from Google Analytics is business analysts, of course, because they can do some analysis on the website. Okay, so that you can improve the business performance overall. Of course, digital business owners can also use Google Analytics, but they won't benefit much because sometimes not all business owners have website. I totally understand that not all business owners have website. Some of them has apps, some of them has website, some of them has online shop from different apps like IG, Facebook, and such, and sometimes Twitter. Okay, and then of course the most cliche answer is, of course, anyone who is interested. Basically, if you are not a business analyst, you're not a business owner, and if you just uh, entirely interested in learning new stuff, in knowing what kind of product that Google offered. So Google Analytics is actually one of the products that Google offered for free. So again, everyone, for those who are very interested in learning Google Analytics, yes, you can do it, even though you're not business owner or business analyst. So let's go ahead. And maybe you're wondering, how exactly does Google Analytics work? So Google Analytics consists of 3 important parts. The first one is the JavaScript code. Okay, JavaScript code is a programming language that makes your site more interactive, more interactive to both to the developer and to the users. Data collection service on Google servers. So basically, when you set up your first Google Analytics, okay, the code will actually gather all kinds of information, all kinds of important related data, okay, on your website, okay, and it will collect all the data from the Google servers, and it will do some processing, okay, so that all those information, all those aka data that they can get from your website, okay, become handful insights to you. Okay, so we have been I have been for the past 15 minutes, well, more or less, for the past 15 minutes more or less, I've been speaking all the pros, all the beautiful things of Google Analytics, and all of the introductory levels of Google Analytics, more like introduce to you, tell you, this is Google Analytics, this is what I can do, this is who can actually benefits the most from Google Analytics. Well, there are actually, so for every good thing, there are also bad things, unfortunately. So let's go ahead and to the pros first, okay? So for starters, Google Analytics are actually surprisingly free of charge. Okay, and it can be used on different digital environments. So for example, we have websites, mobile apps, kiosks. Okay, so Google Analytics can actually gain data, can actually analyze data from your mobile apps too. But for the sake of this live streams, for the sake of this live stream session, and for the sake of aka this workshop, we are going to be entirely focused on websites only. Okay, you can there are actually ways for the mobile apps, but that is not the main focus for this live stream. Okay, so again, Google Analytics can also collect data from different platforms and sources, so basically it's closely related to the second options just now. And also it can actually create custom reports and caters to your needs. So let's say in certain attribute or certain data in your report that you do not want, you can actually filter them out. You if you have a certain focus only, you can actually filter all those unnecessary information from your report. Okay, so for cons, again, like I said, every good things, there are also bad things, unfortunately. Okay, so if you, for those of you who never saw Google Analytics before, okay, so after this, we are actually going to go ahead and do the hands-on, and I'm going to take everyone on a tour of the Google Analytics reporting, of how does Google Analytics work. So for starters, the UI for Google Analytics, the GUI for Google Analytics can be a bit overwhelming because there are so much things happening inside in one screen. So it can be very overwhelming. And for those who have no experience in Google Analytics, you might be a little bit here and there, a bit confused. You don't know what to do. Okay, so that's completely normal. And unfortunately, the free version of Google Analytics cannot handle such high traffic. Okay, so let's say suddenly you're a small business owner, let's say, okay, and then suddenly one of your item got viral, and suddenly your website take off. You will receive a very large amount of traffic on your website. So unfortunately, Google Analytics cannot handle a very high, the free version, that is the free version of Google Analytics cannot handle a very high traffic. So if your website suddenly took off, and you might want to consider the paid version of Google Analytics called Analytics 360. Okay, all right, so now that we have done on the introductory part of Google Analytics, okay, so let's go ahead and jump to the business scenario for this workshop for today. All right, so for today's tour, okay, so for today's tour, okay, we will do hands-on, but the hands-on is going to be a bit later of today's session. Okay, so for business scenario, okay, I'm going to take everyone on a tour to the demo account of Google Analytics called as Google Merchandise Store. Okay, so how do you can get access to this Google Merchandise Store? Everyone can have access to this Google Merchandise Store. The link is actually on the description. You can actually go ahead and access to it. Okay, so again, I'm going to show everyone how does Google Merchandise Store actually looks like. Okay, give me a second, chat. Okay. So for starters, you might actually get, when you click on the link, right? When you click on the link, you will get this kind of interface. Okay. So in order to access the demo account, you need to scroll down a little bit, and you can find the hyperlink to see that says access the demo account. Okay, so when you click on it, okay, you should be able to access the demo account. Given that if you have already signed up to your Google account, you can access it. But if you haven't signed up, please sign up, because it requires your your consent to actually be able to access to this Google account, to this demo account. Excuse me. Okay. So again, if everyone has any problems, please type in the chat, so either me or my mod can actually see it and help you go overcome your problem. Okay. So for starters, all right, Google Analytics have two kinds of Google Analytics. So the first one is the new one, and the second one is the old one, and the most common one. But again, for the sake of this workshop, I am going to use the new one, the new version of Google Analytics. So the older version of Google Analytics we call as Universal Analytics, and the new one is we call as Google Analytics 4. Okay, so Universal Analytics are, again, the older version of Google Analytics, and the Google Analytics 4 is the new version, and actually the slightly better version for the Google Analytics, and it's still actively being updated till these days. Yes, you can actually you should just tick all, or you can just leave it by default, okay, to access the Google account. Okay, so if everyone is on my screen right now, this is the example UI for Google Merchandise Store account, but this one is using Universal Analytics. So how do we know whether it is Universal Analytics or Google Analytics 4? Okay, on the top left, okay, chat, if you're having trouble, please type in the chat again, so either me and my mods can actually help you. Okay, so click on the top left. Okay, click on the top left here at the master view, one master view here. Okay, click on it. Okay, so this is your account. Of course, this one by default, if you are very new, you might not have any other kinds of account here. Okay, so the only available one to you is your demo account. That's completely fine, because this one is the one that you have consented to just now. All right, so if you click on your demo account, you should be able to see the properties and apps on the right side. Okay. All right, so we have GA4 Flood It, GA4 Google Merchandise Store, and UA Google Merchandise Store. So GA4 Flood It is actually an apps. So if you want to see how does apps work for Google Analytics, you can go ahead and click on GA4-Flood It. Okay. GA4 Google Merchandise Store is the one that we are going to be using for today. GA4, again, GA4 is the newer version of Google Analytics. And then last but not least, UA Google Merchandise Store is the older version of Google Analytics, and actually is the most commonly used, because again, like I said, GA4 is very new. Like maybe last year, if I'm not mistaken, last year, is just being recently introduced. So not all websites are still actively applying GA4, but Google actually have already highly suggest for every website to actually migrate from UA4 to GA4. Okay, so click on GA4. All right, so this is the overall interface for GA4, and the account that we'll be using is the Google Merchandise Store account. So do keep in mind some disclaimer right here. Google, this is an actual data from the Google Merchandise Store. Okay. Okay, so we have another question. If migration from UA and GA4, will it impact the data? So far, based on what I have, based on my experience, no, there is no impact on the data, but you might see some differences in the UI and also some of the features that is being offered. The differences of features being offered from UA and GA4, you might see the slight difference. So for the data, there is no impact on the data. All right. So again, okay, so let's say for those of you who have used Google Analytics 4 in the previous month, okay, so there are actually some changes here. Okay, there are some actually slight changes, not very big, but actually slight changes. You might actually notice it. And again, so for those of you who have no experience in Google Analytics, this thing can be this thing can actually be a bit overwhelming to everyone. We have so many stuff here. We have so many reports. What is this? What is that? You might be very confused. So that's totally fine. Again, like I said, the cons of Google Analytics, it can be very overwhelming for newbies, but that's totally fine. So we're going to go through them one by one. Okay, and then later on, I'm going to teach everyone how to actually plug in Google Analytics to your website. Okay, all right. So this is the overall home. Okay, for Google Analytics. So you can see here currently how many users in the past 30 minutes that has actively accessed the website, how many users in total, how many new users they have gained from the website have gained, what is the average engagement time for each user, and what is the total revenue that that website has get, okay, over the past 30 since 1st August. So that's actually quite long. So it's like for the past 30 days. Okay. So let's start on the left side first. Okay, so on the left side here, okay, so this one, please ignore it first. On the left side here, we have report snapshot, real-time acquisition, engagement, monetization, retention, demographics, and tag. So these are all the default reporting that is offered by Google to you. Okay, this is the default reporting that is offered by Google to you. Report snapshot is basically aka home of your dashboard. Basically, is the overview data from your website. Okay, and it will be presented in this form of dashboard depending on what kind of data they are gathering. Each of the visual representation of the data is going to be different. Okay, so real time is basically aka what exactly happening in your data right now. Okay, so real-time reports, it can be very situational. So let's say you have a sale. Okay, you want to make a sale on your website. Okay, and you want to see your website performance during the sales phase is happening. So the real-time report is actually can be very useful because you can actually know how many people actually were aware of your sales, and then where are they from, and how do they access your website, and how where does the traffic came from, whether it's from whether they type in directly your URL for your website, or they search it from Google, or some referral, or they get from Facebook and such. So you can actually get all of this from here. Okay, and you can actually find out which pages is the most popular. Okay, all right. So here, if you can see on my screen right now, okay, I cannot see that. So if you can see on my screen right now, you can actually filter your data. Okay, of course you cannot go to the future. Okay, you can actually let's say if you want to see the past 7 days of your data, you can actually do that. Okay, don't forget to click apply, and the data will change. Okay, so basically this is the most just direct filtering. Okay, insights right here. So insights, for this specific situation, okay, um, Google Analytics actually applies the concept of machine learning, where it's going to study your website, and if the system actually detects some weird things happening, or if there is any kind of changes regarding on your website or regarding on your data, okay, um, it will be reported on the insights right here. So let's say, okay, you can see here, okay, engaged session per user were 93% lower than average for people in Nuestra, Bolivia. Okay, so there is actually some changes happening on the engaged session. Okay, so it's being reported right here. So you can of course, if you want to see the data right away, you can just click it, and you can see it right here. It's going to display on the insights on the right side. All right, so if you're more interested in other stuff, let's say where do your new user come from, organic. So if you want to very interested in that, you can just click on user acquisition. Okay, if you click on user acquisition, it will actually bring you to the acquisition section. But don't worry, the rest of this reporting, I will actually show it to everyone. How does it work? Okay, so how does it's being how does it work, how does it's being retained, and how do we actually make the most use of it? All right, so again on the report snapshot, if you scroll down, more information, more detailed information on your website performance, on your data overall, it's going to be displayed over here. Okay, and if you have more information, or if you want to drill down and know more information on your data, okay, you can click on, there is this link right here, on the link for every brief visualization. Okay, you can click on the view retention if you're interested on drill down on your data even more. Okay, all right, so now that we have done with report snapshot, we have done with real time. Okay, let's go ahead to the acquisition. All right. Ooh. Okay, so for starters, if based on what you can see on the your GUI just now, you can see Google Analytics actually offers a lot of reports for you. By default, we can see around 6 reports. Okay, so the main benefit, the main aim for every reporting is, of course, it summarize your overall business. Okay, so we have another question. I have a website. How do I access Google Analytics of my website? Don't worry, we will actually do some hands-on later on, after I have briefed to everyone the reportings offered by Google, okay, to everyone. Don't worry, we will get there soon. But it's just going to be later on after this session. All right. All right. Okay. So again, the main aim of reporting in general, of course, it summarize your overall business. So there are 6 kinds of reports offered by Google Analytics overall. So the first one we have is acquisition, engagement, monetization, retention, demographics, and technology. So each of these reportings have their own aim, have their own role in Google Analytics, or let's say we'll say have their own role in making your website even more better. Okay, so the first one we have is acquisition reporting. Acquisition, so that is basically already explained to you. What does this report do? It actually, of course, it reports how exactly you acquire users depending on the session. Okay, by of course, sorry, it reports how you acquire users and session, and it's segmentized by medium, source, and campaign. And of course, we have more attributes by user activities in days, week, or month. So let's say in 7 days, how many users I have managed to acquire for the past 7 days? How many sessions I have managed to acquire for the past month? Okay, all right. Even unfortunately, some platforms can actually drive a lot of traffic to your website. What does it mean is, let's say a website. Okay, let's say you have a website, and suddenly you have, at a very weird time, you suddenly get a very unusual traffic, a very unusual high traffic. But even though it has a very unusual high traffic, it makes that your website can barely register anything. That even though you click here and there, it barely respond because of a very high traffic. That is mean sometimes that is because of bots, spam bots. So you need to be careful. Okay. And acquisition reporting in general, it consists of two parts. The first one we have is user acquisition, and the second one is the traffic acquisition. Okay. So back on my second point just now, with the help of the traffic acquisition reporting, we can actually right away detect which website actually drives a very unusual amount of traffic to our website. Very useful. Okay. So back to our demo account. Okay. So in order for you to access the acquisition reporting, okay, on the left side, just below real time, you can access the acquisition. So acquisition, aka acquisition reporting. Okay, again, left, top left, just below real time. Okay. Okay, so we have three kinds of reporting here. Acquisition overview. So of course, the overview information of your acquisition reporting. User acquisition, user specific acquisition reporting. Traffic acquisition. Okay, traffic specific acquisition reporting. So if you click on it, okay, if you click on it, so these are the overview information of acquisition reporting, mixing user acquisition and traffic acquisition. All right. So you can see for the past 30 days, we have managed to acquire around 68K users in overall. And this website also managed to acquire 57K users overall for the past 30 days. Currently, the users that are active inside the website is 83 for the past 30 minutes. And the most active users in the past 30 minutes is from the United States. Okay, so how do we acquire them? Is from the organic method, aka you type their website, www.googlemerchandisewebsite.com. Okay, and if you scroll down a little bit, so at the top is the user acquisition overview reporting, and at the bottom is the traffic acquisition overview reporting. Okay, so sorry, the most high traffic that we have managed to acquire is from organic. Again, www.googlemerchandise.com. Okay, and this is for the Google Ads. Okay, so where does the traffic came from? So let's say maybe they actually put up an ads somewhere around the website, and people actually are interested in buying the Google merchandise. Okay, the Google merch. Okay, so they click on it, and depending on what kind of item they are clicking from, the traffic will be counted from there. All right. So if you go to the user acquisition, so again, this is basically the more detailed information on the user acquisition. Okay, so it calculates, so where does the user came from? So what is the user count, the new user count over time? It's being displayed on the line graph. And this is the detail table on the where does the user came from. All right. Traffic acquisition. Okay. Again, basically pretty much the same. Okay. But instead of user, it's going to be this time it's going to be changed into traffic. All the details, all the attribute here, pretty much the same as the one that I have actually showed to everyone on the acquisition overview just now. This one is just, again, it's just the basically drill down if you want to have more deeper information regarding on your traffic acquisition information. Okay. All right. Moving on to the next one is what we have as engagement reporting. So engagement reporting, again, all of this, if you notice, all of the reportings, the name of the reportings are actually pretty self-explanatory. Sometimes I just really don't have to explain. You might just know right away without having the need to explain what does the report do. That is actually a pretty good move by Google. Okay, but I'm going to explain it anyway because, well, that's my job. Okay, so engagement reporting, okay, basically it reports all the engagement the website has from your user. Okay, so it can be any forms of engagement. We have the session duration, the most viewed screen, the most triggered events. Okay, so with all this engagement that we have, we can actually help our Google Analytics and actually profile which customer, the customer action, so that we can actually, us as the owner of the Google, us as the owner of the Google Analytics, we can actually segmentize this customer. So okay, this customer prefer this customer prefer, let's say this customer prefer item A, this customer prefer item B, but sometimes they actually look also item A. Okay, so we can actually segmentize them, and with all those segmentize, we can actually customize our website, okay, to be more successful visit, to turn it into more successful visit, because it actually meets what does the user need at the end. Okay, and engagement reporting actually consists of 3 parts. So we have events, conversions, pages, and screen. Of course, we also have the overview reporting. Oh, okay. So we have another question. Can these reports or data be downloadable? Data, unfortunately, cannot be downloadable because, again, this is the demo account. For reports, I am pretty sure it cannot be downloaded too, because this one is a demo account, so it cannot be downloaded. But if this account is belongs to you, yes, you can actually download them. Okay. All right. So moving on to engagement reporting, where we are just now. Okay. So where can you find the engagement reporting? It's just below the acquisition reporting. All right. Again, you can find engagement reporting below the acquisition reporting. So again, it has engagement reporting has three types of reporting, and of course an additional of engagement overview, which is the overview representation combining these three types of reporting. Okay, so if you click on engagement overview, okay, so it's going to again display the overall engagement combining events, conversion, pages, and screen. Okay, so if you just want to have an overview information on how on the rate of your user engagement. Okay, if you want to have the overview of overall the user engagement, okay, you can start from the engagement overview. Okay, so they will actually represent all of the data, all of the engagement information in one screen. Okay, so it starts with average engagement time per user, engaged sessions per user, and then average engagement time per session. And of course, this one it's still going to display the active user for the past 30 minutes. So right now it's on the, oh, it's actually start to low down a bit. Okay, so right now we have 87 user in that website. Okay, and the current top pages or screens is home and Google Online Store. Of course, we don't really need to take home as an account, because of course when you access to a website, by default it's going to redirect you to home even though you do not want it. It's still going to redirect you to home. Okay. And we can see the average views on our website, on their website, excuse me, on their website. We have 498K viewers in total. Okay. And then it will also display the page's title and the screen class, the overall engagement, and of course, the user activity for the past 30 days. And the user stickiness is basically how long does the user stay per session. Okay, so we have two questions actually. Is it possible to have few numbers of Google Analytics to access the same website? What do you mean by a few number of Google Analytics? Okay, so I'm assuming your question is it possible to have multiple Google Analytics to access the same website? Is it? It might be wrong, but if I rearrange your question for a bit, okay, so for one Google Analytics, you can have multiple websites, and multiple website can have one Google Analytics. Okay. But in Google Analytics, in for website, right? So each website we have what we call as property. Okay, so that property it only applies to one website only. So if you have multiple websites, you're gonna have multiple properties, and the multiple properties can be stored under one Google Analytics account. Okay, and okay, so another question: do we need just one Google Analytics account for a few websites? Yes, correct. If you have multiple websites, okay, you can only have of course you can have multiple Google Analytics, but if you want to make things easier for you, you can also have only one Google Analytics for multiple website, because like I said just now, each website has their own property. Okay, whenever we plug in Google Analytics to our website, okay, when we first connect them together, we need to create what we call as a property. So that property will actually store the information of your website. Okay, and you can have multiple properties in one Google Analytics. Okay, I hope that answers this chat question. Okay, so if you have any question, just go ahead and type in the comment section below, sorry, at the live chat. I may or may not answer it right away, depending on what kind of whether I'm in the middle of explaining stuff. I may not answer it right away, but I will see the question, and if I do have time, I will answer the question. But don't worry, I will try my best to answer all of your question right away, or maybe a few seconds after that. All right. So back to our reportings just now. Okay. We have, after the engagement overview, okay, go to events. Okay. So events is the more detailed version of the engagement overview just now. Okay. And it will show you, okay, the most active or the most engaged pages, the most engaged event that you have on your website. Okay, so for this account, for Google Merchandise Store account, we can see page view, aka whenever the user view the page, is the most active event. The view promotion is the most second active event. So let's say the website has a promotion. Okay, so it seems like they actually managed to attract a lot of users, okay, to stay on their website, to engage with their website with the help of promotion. Okay, so you can actually do some decision making with the engagement reporting. Okay, so let's say go back when if you go back to engagement overview. Okay, so let's say your average engagement is declining and you want to make sure your website, your user is engaged, is active on your website. So how do you want to do that? That's entirely up to you. Okay, so you can actually find out whether they are actually actively engaged or not through here, so that you can actually ensure, yes, ensure, that's the word. You can actually ensure the success of your website. So okay, like we see, unfortunately nowadays there are a bunch of dead website, mainly because they didn't improve their website. So we can actually prevent that by having Google Analytics to our website. Okay. Okay, so moving on to conversion. Okay, so through the conversion, okay, again, if you remember the conversion I said just now, okay, is where we can actually change from potential customer, aka or potential user, to an actual customer or an actual user. How do we convince them? Okay, so this, okay, we can actually see from this analytics overall. Okay, the overall website in here, the overall display in here, excuse me, chat. Okay, the overall display in here. Okay, how active the user is. Okay, how well engaged the user is from starting from the first visit. Okay, so the first visit we can actually, oh, okay, so they might be interested in our stuff because they started to visit our website. Okay, that's the first visit. And begin checkout. Oh, okay, they actually put some items on our cart. Okay, so maybe they are very interested in our item, but begin checkout is still doesn't really confirm whether the user is actually the user is actually our potential customer or our confirmed customer. But however, when the purchase are being made, so that we can actually found out that, oh, okay, so this the purchase is an our actual customer because they actually managed to buy all the stuff that we have. Okay, so we can track it from here, aka the conversion. So we can actually found out that, okay, we actually have a lot of conversion, we actually have a lot of lead conversion, but at the end of the day, the actual customer that we have is actually more than half, to 2K. Is it more than half? Like more than half actually. Yes. The event actually use UTM builder to trace. Yes, correct. Okay, so we have another question here. The event engagement is tracked based on the link click or when the user access the page. Okay, so for engagement reporting, it's going to be tracked based on whether the link is clicked or not. Sometimes, again, whether the user access the page or not, it's not being counted as engagement. Okay, so because like I said, engage. Okay, if you're just looking around, would you consider that as engage? Let's say I have let's say right now I have 73 viewers. Okay, so most of them are lurkers, which means that they are not actually actively engaging with me. They are mostly watch the stream, but they don't actually engage with me. Only like maybe 10 to 15% of everyone in here actually are engaged with me. All right. So how do we set up conversion tracking? Okay, so again, for that kind of question, it's actually going to be applied later on. Okay, when we actually set up our Google Analytics. Okay, once we actually set up the Google Analytics, when we actually link them all of them together. Okay, Google Analytics will do the rest. You don't have to worry. You just need to keep on feeding the data to your website, do some data here and there, do make sure Google Analytics manage to get some data from your website, and you don't have to worry about the rest. Maybe in 1 and 2 hours, the result will actually be displayed depending on how fast or how high your website traffic is. The higher traffic to the higher traffic of your website, it might actually takes a lot of time to actually display the actual result. Okay. So next, pages and screens. Okay, pages and screen. Okay, all right. So for pages and screen, it actually will display the overall detailed information. Okay, regarding on how well or how is the engagement between the pages and screen of the user and to your website. So for starters, you can see the most engaged, the most active pages that this account has is home. Of course, again, by default, when we first access to any kinds of website, okay, we will be transferred into the home of the website. That is pretty normal. So if, let's say, if you don't want home, you can just completely ignore home and analyze the rest of the data that is being displayed right under home. Okay, so we can see the second most engaged pages on Google Merchandise Store website is Google Online Store. Okay, and then we have the second one is the men apparel. Okay, so we know that actually men's apparel is actually more engaged compared to the rest. So what does it mean? So maybe you can actually improve more on men's section, or actually add more items on men section because that is of course the most active one. Most of the user actually spend their time here, so you can actually add more item in here, aka then it will actually help you in increasing the overall revenue for your website. Okay, so again, if you scroll down, so you can see a pattern right here, right? So for each of the reporting, they are going to start with the overall reporting, okay, combining the three of the report type that they have, okay, on the overview section, okay, and then on the rest is going to be more detailed information if you wish to know more detail, depending on what kind of the category that they have, depending on what kind of category that you are looking for, whether pages and screen or user traffic acquisition. Okay, so you can actually go to the specific category, okay, and do more analysis on there for detailed information on that particular topic. All right. So moving on. Hold on, chat. I'm losing my voice. Let me drink. Let me drink a little bit. Okay. Moving on to monetization reporting. So, can everyone tell me what does this report do? Pretty self-explanatory, right? Oh wait, I already revealed the answer there. Okay, so monetization reporting is, you guessed it, reportings on monetization gain from your website. So any kinds of money related reportings, money kind related on your website is going to be reported on the monetization section. Okay, so it helps you to analyze any kinds of purchase activity if you have. Thank you. If you have any kinds of purchasing activity you have on your site or on your app, and it has three parts. Of course, it has 3+1. Now, the first one is the overview. Okay, so we have e-commerce purchases in app. So let's say, if your website has an apps, your website has an apps. Okay, so you can actually gain reportings from, let's say, how much did you make from your apps. And then last but not least, the publisher ads. So if you have any kinds of ads on your website, okay, and you can get money out of it, so it will display all the detailed information or all the total revenue that it has on the publisher ads. Oh, sorry. So if you go back to the Google Analytics, to the demo account, okay, if you click on the just below engagement, okay, you can see the monetization reporting. Okay, so again, 3+1: e-commerce purchase, in-app purchase, publisher ads, and of course monetization overview. Pretty much the same. Okay, so monetization overview is going to give you an combined overview information for e-commerce purchases, in-app purchases, and publisher ads if you actually have ads on your website on the overview section. Okay, so we can see how much we gained for the past 30 days. We gained 149K. This is the total e-commerce value. So the total revenue will actually combine both e-commerce and total ads. But because on the Google Merchandise Store, they don't have ads. Okay, so it's going to be 0. It's going to give you also the detail how many people actually buy from your website and how many of them are first timers. Okay, so this one is the combining between the first timers and also the returning to your website. It also gives you an average purchase. Okay, so for each user, what is their average total revenue? If you look on the right side, okay, if you look on the right side, okay, you can see which of the item is the most bought by the user. All right. So item list name, it's not being set, okay, or there is no data regarding on item list set. So that is all. Again, this is not my data. This is Google's data. So I have no idea why there is no data available for this one. Okay. Moving on, how many people view the specific item depending on the item that is being promoted. Okay. So coupon. So let's say if your website has coupon. Okay. All right. So we have another comment. How to set goals. So okay. So unfortunately, because this one is actually going to display your existing data, and based on my experience in using the Google Analytics, I have there is no way to find there is no way to for me to set a goal. Okay. So again, this is just going to display all the available data, so you can actually set a goal for the reportings. Okay, so we have another question. May I know for demo set we only have engagement, there is consists of down drop. Other functions we don't have, is it? Okay, so can you explain in detail what does it mean by engagement there is consists of down drop? Because again, I'm also using the demo account, and based on whatever I can access in here, everyone should also be able to access the rest of the account. I have no extra access. How sorry. So how detailed I can access in here, everyone should be able to access it too. Oh, well, of course, except on the on the admin section. Okay, there are certain things that you cannot access because this one doesn't belongs to us. Okay, so there are certain things that inside in here that you cannot access unless it belongs to you, then you can access all of it. But right now this is a demo account, so there are some things in here we cannot access. However, the default reporting, we can access them. Okay. Oh, okay, so you don't have access like me. Okay, so that is a bit weird. Okay. Okay, so never mind. I'm actually going to do the rundown again on how to access this demo account. Okay, using a fresh account that has no access to the Google Merchandise Store or whatever. Please be ensured the one that we'll be using right now is GA4, not UA. Okay. So please be aware again, we are using right now is GA4. We are not using UA. Okay, so don't worry. If you don't have access, I will do a rundown again on how to access this demo account. Maybe after I have finished with all the reporting demo for everyone to actually reach again on how to again refresh how to access this demo account. Okay, so now that we have done with the monetization overview, so let's go ahead to the e-commerce purchases. So e-commerce purchases, again, how many item, pretty self-explanatory. What is the e-commerce purchases that we can get? What is the total item that we have managed to sell with the help of our website? Okay. So this is the detail table on which item sells the most, which item, the top 10 item that sells the most. You can actually customize them if you want to, item brand. Okay. All right. So, but now I want my item name or item category 4, depending on what kind of filter that you want to put or what kind of data that you want to see, you can actually filter them. Okay, just play around on the reports, because by default I cannot show everything in here. It's if you want to know additional details, additional information, additional features, what does Google Analytics has to offer, you have to explore around on your own. Okay. All right, so moving on to the in-app purchases. So, okay, so quick question, chat. Why does I don't have in-app purchases? So what do you think is the reason why I don't have any kinds of in-app? I don't have any data regarding on in-app purchases. Okay, so the reason why I don't have data regarding on in-app purchases is because, well, back to basics. This is based on website, based on web. So for this demo account, they assume that we don't have any apps. We don't have apps, okay? Which is why we don't have any kinds of data regarding on in-app purchases. All right. So I hope that clears everyone's misunderstanding. Again, publisher ads. Why we don't have them? Why? Okay, so again, publisher ads is if you have any kinds of ads on your website, okay, and you actually gain something out of it. All right. If you gain revenue out of it, it will be displayed in here. But again, for this demo account, they don't have apps, they don't have ads, which is why we don't get any kinds of data inside in here. Okay, so the only working report that we have right now is e-commerce purchases only. All right. Now, let's move on to the next one, is retention reporting. So retention reporting it's going to display the overall data, the overall information of how many users that the website has actually managed to retain. Okay, so for example, we have new and returning users. Okay, so with this, we can actually closely relate to YouTube. Okay, so for starters, once you open YouTube, especially you start watching YouTube Shorts or YouTube in general, it's so hard to detach yourself out from it. Correct? Okay. Sometimes on just one sitting alone, we can spend like 4 to 5 hours just watching YouTube. Why? Because YouTube has actually done an exquisitely amazing job on how to retain their user, to make sure their user will stay on their website as long as they could by recommending videos that actually very very interesting depending on your users. Okay, so it can actually be applied with these kinds of the understanding of YouTube retention method can actually be applied for the same thing on the retention reporting for Google Analytics. Okay, so it can in retention reporting, they will actually display how well does your website or your apps can make your visitors to stay. So okay, so we have another question. So for the ads like IG ads, we need to include GA tags so the information can be tracked in Google Analytics. Yes, correct. Yes, you have to there is what we call as tag, okay, so that all kinds of the information can be tracked using Google Analytics. Yes, correct. But again, this one is focused on the web. It's not focused on app, so I'm not going to touch on app. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, so move back to where I was explaining just now. Okay, so let's say, for example, right, your website is very, on your opinion, your website is very colorful. It's very interesting that you think that the user will actually stay as long as they can to your website. But unfortunately, once you go to your retention reporting, it looks like your website only has like maybe 2 to 3 minutes average retention rate. That is actually not good. So maybe you want to do some improvement on your website, especially in terms of your website appearance, or how well your website actually managed to attract or retain users. Okay, so that they won't run away for the first 30 seconds after they open your website. All right. So let's go back to our Google Analytics. Okay. So let's go back to Google Analytics. All right. So how can you get to retention reporting? Okay. So unfortunately, retention has only one section, which is retention. They don't have any more category on retention reporting. They only have overview, because of course it's pretty normal, because we only want to measure how many new users we can get and how many returning users that we can get from our website. Okay, so you can find retention reporting just below the monetization reporting. Okay, so retention reporting, okay, again, is going to start with it's going to display the total of new users from your website and the list of the returning user on your website. So you can see the vast difference of between the new user and the returning user. Okay, so you might want to do something from it. Even though your website are actively gain new users, but unfortunately, it is hard to retain them. It is hard to make them come back even more. It's hard to make them to return back to your website. So maybe you might want to do something so that the number of returning users will eventually go up. Okay, so again, the rest, if you scroll down, it's pretty much again self-explanatory. Okay, it's going to display everything. So this is the user retention rate. You can see the sharp declining in here. Okay, and then the average of user engagement per session on your website. So you can see here the graph doesn't look very nice, because it keeps on going down, and even though it does went up, but then again it goes down again. So it's not good for us. It's not good for our website. Okay. Okay, so we have another question. Are the numbers reported for new users skewed in any way? What does GA consider a new user? Okay, so how does GA considers new user? Okay, so for starters, it's going to take note of your account for sure. It's going to take, especially for this website, right? So in order for you to buy something, you need to have an account and such. Okay, and how do they consider new user or returning user? Is let's say if you start a new session on that particular website, okay, and you have never been to the website before, okay, that is considered as a new user. Okay, so another way is, let's say you move on, the first time you access to that website is you access it from the computer. So for the second time, you access the same website using the same account from a different platform. Let's say you access it from mobile. Okay, somehow Google actually recognized that as a new user too. Okay, so the way Google actually consider new user or a returning user is actually still pretty blurry or pretty weird in my opinion, because again, like I said, you have the same account, you have accessed that account before, but you access the account, you access that website through different platform. Let's say for the first time you access it from PC, and then the second time you access it from a tab or mobile phone. So whenever you access from that tab or mobile phone, it still considers as a new user. What does consider as a returning user is when you access the account, you access the session using the same platform. So for the first time, you access the website using PC, and the second time you access the website, okay, using PC as well. That is considered as returning user. Yeah, so that is pretty much it between the how does Google Analytics distinguish between new user and returning user. Okay. All right. So now we have demographics reporting. So don't worry, chat. You might actually get bored out of this. So this is the second last part of reporting. We will go to the hands-on on how to set up the Google Analytics after this. So don't worry. Okay. So next one is demographics reporting. Again, pretty self-explanatory, pretty straightforward. It's going to display your demographics information such as the age, city, country, gender, interest, and language. Let's say if your website, when the user first creating a new website, okay, and they ask for your interest or your gender, so it will be recorded in here. All right. So again, this is not my data. Some disclaimer again, I'm going to say again and again. So I have no idea why they don't display it here, but I'm pretty sure it's because they refuse to put gender, interest, and age. So that is pretty much, it's no problem. But the demographics can actually help you to target your customer slightly better. Okay, because you can see majority of your customer come from United States. Okay, so maybe you can actually focus more promotion or have more promotion focusing on United States. Okay, and then you can actually detect so which country is less performing. So let's say, yeah, which country is less performing. So you can see, you can go to the final page. So how to increase the rate of user from there. Okay, you can actually take some steps, some precaution steps, some improvement steps to make to increase more customers on your list, on the least visited country. Okay, and of course the language. Okay, so if you can see here, English is the most preferred language, and then Chinese we have second. So let's say if you want more interaction with the Chinese users, so you can actually make your website to be you can turn the language of your website into Chinese and actually many more. So this is pretty much self-explanatory. Okay, again, the demographic details is going to be the more drilled down version of the overview demographics. Okay. And tech. Okay, so technology reporting. Oops, sorry. So technology reporting it's going to display the reportings of the technology that is currently being actively used by the user. Okay, so this one is again it's good for your website health, for your website improvement. Let's say if you want to attract more user, okay, you can do some technology analysis. So let's say if you want to find out how many what kind of technology that your user use, so you can actually cater your website to meet the technology of your user. Okay, so again, if you access the Google Analytics, okay, so we have tech overview right here. Okay, just below the demographics. Okay. Okay, so wait, I think my report just went haywire. Okay. So again, this workshop is evolving based on website only. Okay, so for apps, this is not going to be focused on apps. So all of the information on the tech reporting, all of them is going to favor apps even more. Sorry, is going to favor website more. All right. So again, we can see a lot of people access the website using web. Okay. And we can see the most popular OS that is being used by the user is Windows, and Mac is following closely at the back. And what kind of platform do they use? They use web, and then of course they're using mobile web, and then we have tablet too. All right, and the rest is again pretty much self-explanatory. And if you go to tech details, it's going to display to you the detailed information of the technology, okay, that is currently being used by the user. You can find out which is the most famous web browser that is being used by your user. Okay, what kind of device model that do they use? Oh, wow. Okay. And then we have, give me a second, chat. What is the app version? Okay. The platform, the device category, and a lot more. So you all feel free to explore the demo account even more. Okay, so we have another question, excuse me. So if you don't have an account on the ecom website, how do you track a new user? IP address tracking or cookies? But cookies is only on one device. Okay, so based on the question, it's going to it's going to track the new user using IP address. Because like I said, even though you access the website multiple times using the same platform, they are going to count you as a returning user. All right. Okay, chat. Now, let's have some quiz for everyone. So, but then again, this quiz is a bit simple before we move on to our hands-on. Okay. So so for quiz 1, okay, I just want to test everyone's knowledge based on the previous 1.5 hour session that we have gone through. So the first one is name 2 reports that are offered by Google Analytics. So in total, we have 6 reports in total. Okay. Can chat actually name 2 out of 6 all the reportings that is being offered by Google? Is there anyone that can actually answer it? All right. We have 1, acquisition and engagement. That is very good. Okay, so thank you, Chad, for actually answering the question. So, okay, again, Google Analytics offer a lot of reporting for free. Okay, so 6 in total. So we have acquisition, engagement, retention, monetization, demographics, and tech. Very nice. Thank you, Chad. It seems like everyone is still here. Thank you. All right, moving on. Quiz 2. So name a report that allows you to analyze your purchasing activity, no, to analyze user purchasing activity on your website slash apps. So this one is actually quite easy. Everybody can actually answer this. Okay, so the answer for the question 2, for quiz 2, is monetization. So did everyone get your answer correct? Yes, thank you very much, chat. The answer is monetization. The first answer is the first quiz. The first answer for quiz 1 is any 2 reports from the 6 reports that I have showed to everyone, and the second answer is monetization. All right. So now we are going to start with hands-on. So again, this one is going to work very, very, very well if you have your sample website. Okay, but again, you need to be careful. On certain website, especially certain sample website, you need to have a paid access in order for you to actually plug in your Google Analytics to your website. So, for example, we have Wix and WordPress. So, Wix and WordPress requires you to have a paid access to your website. Okay, you need to have a paid access in order for you to actually be able to connect Google Analytics to your website. But for me, for today, I am going to use. Give me a second, chat. So for today, I am going to use Weebly. Weebly.com. So Weebly.com is another free website host sample website. Okay, that actually gives you a free access for you to actually be able to connect your Google Analytics to your website. Okay, so again, depending on what kind of website you're using, Wix and WordPress are the most popular one, and Wix and WordPress actually need to have a paid access for you to actually be able to connect your Google Analytics to the website. Okay, but for Weebly, they actually allow you to connect Google Analytics to your website for free. Okay, don't worry. I will actually tell everyone how to connect to the website. So for starters, everyone can go to Google Analytics Home. The link is available on the description box below on the stream right now. Okay, it is labeled as under. Hold on a second, chat. Let me see. Get started. Get started. All right, chat. Okay, so if you cannot access it, do tell me. Okay, so this is the first interface that you're going to meet when you first go to Google Analytics website. All right, is chat doing well? I hope chat is doing well. Okay, so click on start measuring. Okay, so again, to access to this interface, to this screen that I have right here, go ahead to the description box down below. Okay, there is a link there available for you. You can access it. You can click on it and you will be greeted to this kind of screen. All right. So click on start measuring. So when you click on start measuring, okay, you will need to fill in all the detailed information. All right, you will need to fill in all of your detailed information right here. All right, so we're gonna start with account name. Okay, we're gonna start with account name. So account name can be the name of your business. Okay, I can share you the link right now. Give me a second. You share the link. Give me a second, chat. Okay, you should be able to get the link right now. I already share it to you. Okay, so again, account name, you can put any kind of account name that you want, but for me, I want to put a gaming store because that is the name of my website. You can put in anything. Okay, again, don't worry. So account data sharing settings. Oh, if you do not have yes, you can name anything. You can even name, you can even put the name of yourself. There is no problem. Okay, so click on next. So account data sharing settings, this one is basically on what kind of info that you want to share. Okay, what kind of features that you want to be available once you already finish setting up your Google Analytics. Okay, click on next. Just leave it by default. If you don't know what to do, just leave it by default. Click on next. Okay, so this is again where the property setup comes in. Okay, so again, which is why in the first place, okay, I would suggest to everyone to have actually a sample website for everyone so that it can be measured. Okay, so because for property name, we need to put the name of our website right here. So what if the website is just a normal HTML with FTP only? Okay, you can try. Okay, you can try and put it and see if it works or not. In my personal opinion, it will definitely work because it's still a website. Okay, again, chat, put your website link here. Okay, and set your time zone. Oops. Set your time zone here. Okay, and your currency. It can be anything. Okay, depending on your website, it can be in USD, it can be in Canadian, in CAD, it can be in Euro. But for my case, is MYR. Okay, if you click on the show advanced option, okay, so remember when I said just now, on certain website, on certain website they haven't applied GA4 just yet. On certain website they haven't applied GA4 just yet. Okay, so when they haven't applied GA4 just yet, you need to use the older version of Google Analytics, which what we call as Universal Analytics. So if you want to use Universal Analytics, click on the Show Advanced option, toggle this on. Okay, so if you toggle this on, again, put your URL website in here, and you can choose the option between if you want to create both GA4 and Universal Analytics, or only create Universal Analytics property only. So remember, if they create both GA4 and Universal Analytics property, they work differently. They don't work in one team. Okay, they work differently. So you need to be careful. Okay, if your website still haven't applied, do be wary of your website. Let's say For example, Wix, as of now, the last time I checked Wix still haven't applied GA4 just yet. Wix, so for Wix users, you need to use Universal Analytics. Same goes for WordPress. No, sorry. WordPress has already used Google Analytics 4, but for Wix users, you need to use Universal Analytics. Okay, since we do not have business at the moment, what URL we should include? Okay, so if you do not have business at the moment, again, like I said just now, you can create a empty website, a sample website. Okay, I would suggest to use weebly.com. Okay, and create a sample website. It should take you like 3 to 5 minutes only just to set up. Okay, and paste that website to your URL, to this URL. Okay, so but in my case, I do not want Universal Analytics. I only want Google Analytics 4, so I can ignore that completely. I can toggle this off. But if you want to use Universal Analytics, you can just toggle this on and again repeat the steps that I have shown everyone just now. Okay, click on next. So this is the business information. If you do not want to toggle this, you can just completely ignore them. You do not have to worry about clicking this, worry about this. You don't have to worry. You can just simply ignore them and click on create. When you click on create, you will be greeted to terms of service agreement. Okay, choose your country. Because right now I stay in Malaysia, so I need to choose Malaysia as the country. Okay, click on I accept. So when you click on I accept, you should be greeted into a new screen, just like what I have right now on my screen. Okay, is chat doing well? I'm sorry, chat. I might not be able to see too. I might not be able to answer all of your question. All right. So chat, if you have followed all of the steps that I have included previous correctly, you should be greeted to this screen. Okay, so let's say if you accidentally click on any other button on the website, okay, you should be able to find this red lining at the top. It says can't find any data stream because you haven't set up anything just yet. So Google Analytics cannot actually be able to show anything for you. All right. So how to go back to the data stream section just now? On the bottom left, click on admin. Okay, click on admin and find data strip. Okay. So before I move on to this section, to the property section, let's go on to the account section first. So on the account section, account settings is where all the account settings that you need to make. Okay. If you want, let's say if you want to change your account name, so this is where you can do it. Or if you want to change your account business, this is where you can do it. Account access management. So let's say if you have multiple user that is using your Google Analytics, the business Google Analytics business, okay, this is where you can actually filter your user. Okay. Filter, basically again filtering. If you have a data and if you need to do some data filtering, this is where you can do it. Account change history. So this is account change history. Let's say if you have multiple accounts, okay, and if you suddenly want to remove any account and then suddenly you want to set them up again, so this is where account history you can see. All right. Rubbish bin is, let's say if you remove your user access or if you remove any kinds of account in here, and then suddenly you want to change your mind, you can actually find them here in rubbish bin. Okay. Chat, I hope you're doing okay, chat. Okay, so moving on to the right side is the property settings. So the property settings is, let's say if you have any question regarding on your Google Analytics and you don't know what to do. Let's say you have no idea what the heck are you doing. So you can click on the setup assistant. The setup assistant will actually guide you step by step on navigating through Google Analytics. Property settings is basically your property settings. Let's say if you want to change your time zone or if you want to change your currency, your website currency, and if you want to find your property ID in here. All right. Again, property access management, almost the same as the account access management, but this time is you can decide who has the, you can actually filter the property permission for each user that has the access to your website, to the Google Analytics, sorry. Data stream is where you're going to connect your data. Okay, so this is where you can start to plug in your website or your apps through the Google Analytics. So from web, we have here. Don't worry, I'm going to show just a brief first, and then we're going to go in detail later on. So this is where you can set up your web, your Android app, okay, and your iOS app. So if you want to keep track of your app, Android and iOS, so this is where you can do it in here. You can start connecting in here. All right. Data settings. So this is basically, again, the settings for your data. Okay. Filtering, retention. So data retention by default, Google actually keep your data for the past 2 months worth of data only. So let's say if you want the data to be longer, you can change them from 2 months to 14 months at max. Okay. Again, for 2 months and 14 months at max. So let's say if you want to do long planning detail for your business, you might want to have more than 2 months worth of data, right? You might want to have like half a year data or maybe more than that. So this is where you can change them. You can change the data retention. So if you change this, Google Analytics will actually keep your 14 months worth of data. Okay, again, by default, it's set at 2 months. So you might want to change this straight away once you have connected your website. Okay, data filtering. If you want to filter your data, which is, I think it's something that you should not do it, but it's totally up to you. It's very situational. Okay, importing data. Okay, so let's say if you have external business sources, okay, from your let's say you have what is it called again, CSV data, okay, and you want to join them with this, so you can do it in here. Reporting identity. So how do you want to identify your user? You can identify user either you're using ID and device or using device only. Attribution settings. Can we change at the future event data retention? Yes. Yes, you can. All right. Again, so this is more the property change. So let's say if you have changes on your property, maybe you have different location or different name, or some, if you want to do some filtering, you can detect all the history, all the movement of your property in here. And of course, data deletion request. If you want to delete any kinds of data that you wish you do not want for it to be available on the Google Analytics anymore, this is where you do it. Okay, so product linking, this one is something that is not going to be included for this workshop. Okay, so Google Ads, Ad Manager, and BigQuery linking is, again, it is not going to be included in the workshop. This one is for everyone to explore on their own, or you can just basically search it out on YouTube on how to make this works. Okay, so go back to the data streams. Okay, if you go back to the data stream, and we want to stream the data from the sample website, so how do we connect them? Click on web. Okay, so when you click on web, you're going to be greeted into this new window, new mini window right here. Okay, so the first one, they ask for your website URL, so go ahead and put it. Okay, your stream name. This one is, you can be anything. It can be anything as long as you recognize your website. You can put any name if you want. You want in here, website. Okay. Oh, okay. So enhanced measurement, okay, is basically how do you want Google Analytics measure your website. Okay, so let's say if you do not want video engagement because you do not have any video on your website, you can toggle this off. Okay, so but in my case here, I'm going to leave everything by default. Click on create stream. So when you click on create stream, and if it's successful, you are going to be greeted into this screen, this even newer screen. Okay, you will be provided your stream name, your measurement ID. The stream name is the one that we have, we name ourselves just now, your measurement ID. Okay, and the rest is the method on how to tag your website. Okay, so again, some disclaimer, each website has their own different methods on tagging. Some of them use global site tag. Some of them use the tag manager. Some of them actually use the measurement ID. Okay, and then just put the measurement ID on the settings of your website, and you're supposedly good to go. Okay, so for measurement ID, okay, this is the ID that is going to make sure your website know the ID for your website. Excuse me. Okay, so on Wix, if I'm not mistaken, Wix is actually very easy to put a tag on the website. You just put your measurement ID on Wix, and you're supposedly good to go. But on certain website, it requires you to put global site tag. Okay, so be aware, you need to put this site tag on the head section of your HTML. So for my case, where was my just now? Okay, so for my case, I have this website right here. Okay, this is my sample website, and this is the the setting, where I can customize my website. Okay, this is weebly.com. On settings, okay, on settings, so where can we put our Google site tag, the tag? go to SEO, okay, if you go to SEO, okay, again, remember, it told you to put into the head section of your HTML. Okay, so if I go back just now, okay, I'm going to put the code just now. Sorry. I'm going to put the code just now on my header. Just copy. On the click button, global site tag we include in the page header or on the click button, on the page header. On the page header. So copy the code. Okay, copy the code for the global site tag. Again, this is for Weebly only. I'm sorry, I can only show Weebly for now. You need to go ahead and do research on your particular website. Which website, different website has different tagging methods. So you need to be aware of that first before you actually do some tagging to your website. Okay, copy this first. And then on the header code, so if you can see, I actually already put the header in here. Okay, so be aware, okay, on the Google Analytics just now, it asks us to put on the head section of our HTML. So we are going to put the header code right here. Okay, so for the footer code, do ignore it first. Okay, do ignore it because Google, on the Google Analytics just now, it clearly told us to put on the head section of our HTML. Okay, click on save. Okay, click on save and then publish. So once we are done with that, okay, once we are done with that, close this, okay, and go back to reporting. Okay, so right now you don't see anymore the red, remember the red markings at the top, okay, because we already have set up the data stream. We already have plugged in the Google Analytics through our website. So if you access the website manually, let's say if you give someone the link and access the website manually, it may be depending on the speed, depending on the speed of the traffic, okay, in 4 to 5 minutes, or maybe sometimes it took only 1 to 2 minutes, you should be able to notice some changes, especially on the active users right here. This is the most obvious one. You can actually ensure your Google Analytics is working or not. So let's say for the past 30 minutes, the numbers haven't changed and you actually has already asked multiple users to access it and there is no changes. So there might be some error on your site. So you might need to do some debugging here and there. Okay. So that is how you can connect or you can install Google Analytics through your website. Okay, Chad. That is pretty much it for this workshop. So again, if you wish to explore more, I suggest create a sample website and ask a bunch of people to access your website. Okay, and you can see the changes, the data changes on the user acquisition, the engagement and such. You can see the changes in another 5 minutes or another 10 minutes, depending on the traffic, and you should be able good to go. Okay, so of course it will work superbly well if you have an actual working website with, if you gain revenues out from it, you can actually gain a lot. The data will actually be even more beautiful than we have right now. Okay, chat. Um, before I end the session, so let's go a bit of the overall summarization for today's section, for today's workshop. So again, Google Analytics is free. Everyone can access it. But if you want to make use out of it, if you want to make use out of all the Google Analytics features, if you want to explore more, I would suggest for you to set up I would suggest for you to set up a sample website for everyone to actually, for you to actually be able to fully experience the immersion of the website. And of course, with the help of Google Analytics, it can help you generate many kinds of reports that can actually be helpful for us. Okay, that can help you gain valuable insights regarding on your website information. Okay, so that you can actually make some effective decision making on your business. And there are 6 reports in total. We have discussed it before. We have actually already experienced it on all the reportings we have in general. So yeah, thank you everyone for coming in. If you have any questions regarding on Google Analytics or regarding on us, okay, feel free to comment down below. We will be sure to reply the comment. Okay, the video will be up in the next 2 to 3 hours. Okay, and yes, thank you everyone for today's session, and I'll see you in the next event. Thank you everyone. See you. Bye bye.